So last season, the Denver Broncos won 10 games. They made the wild card and they fell short to the Buffalo Bills, but they learned a lot from that and they've made a lot of tweaks and adjustments to the roster. And I see them as a legit threat in the AFC West division. Now, the issue for the Broncos is that they have to deal with the Chiefs and the Chargers. Kansas City went to the Super Bowl. Los Angeles won 11 games. The Chargers had a pretty easy schedule last year, though. We'll see if they're able to replicate what they did. But I look at the Broncos as a football fan, not even just as a Broncos fan, as somebody who covers the NFL for a living, and I see them as a legit contender in the AFC. Their offense had to improve this offseason, and it certainly did. The biggest moves that the Broncos made, of course, going out and getting RJ Harvey in the draft, going out and bringing in J.K. Dobbins just a couple of weeks ago. At the receiver position, Pat Bryant. Cortland Sutton does need an extension, but he had a career year last year. The tight end position, what about Evan Ingram? He's going to be a beast down in the red zone. He can also work one-on-one. He can block even. Ingram is a huge addition to this team. The offensive line remains one of the best in football. Last season, it was elite. It was number one in pass blocking. It was top 10 in run blocking. The issue for the Broncos is they didn't have much at the running back position. Audric Estime is just 21 years old at this point still. He's got a lot of potential, but he's not a bell cow type of running back, at least right now. So going and getting Harvey, who's just a physical downhill runner, and then Dobbins to complement him, who had a career year with the Chargers. It's crazy to say that. I hesitated and stuttered almost right there because J.K. Dobbins did have a career year. He just has never been able to stay healthy. If he can do that for the Broncos, he is going to be a legit piece for them. But Bo Nix is the key to this football team. And yeah, obviously he's a quarterback. I get that. But look at where the Broncos were before he got here. Russell Wilson was holding onto the football, taking like 50 sacks a season. The running attack was even worse than it was last season. It was literally 31st, which is almost last in football. Of course, as the team failed to make the playoffs, they end up releasing Russ back in March of 2024. They draft Bo Nix pretty early, a lot earlier than consensus. But for those of you that remember, which probably nobody does, but I made a video literally hours after the draft saying that Bo Nix is going to be a very, very good NFL quarterback because of his experience playing at both Oregon and Auburn. And he also gets rid of the ball quickly. He doesn't take sacks. He's an underrated athlete. He's accurate. He's a leader. There's really nothing bad to say about Bo Nix. You could even argue that he was the best rushing attack for the Broncos last season. And I thought he should have won Rookie of the Year. If I had a vote, I would have went with Bo Nix because, yeah, sure, he maybe had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but look at who the Broncos had to play. Like, you have to start on the road in Seattle. That's the most difficult place to start your NFL career. And then in the playoffs, you have to go to Orchard Park. So seeding is going to be crucial. You don't want to go on the road to Buffalo or to Kansas City or Baltimore. The Broncos need to win this division and at the very least get a home field playoff game to start off. But that's a story for a different time. We can make a whole video on that. I just wanted to make it abundantly clear how much of a believer I was in Bo Nix and I currently am. And Jaden Daniels, I watched every single game of his. Like, I like him a lot, of course, out of LSU. But I just think Nix made more of a difference. Like, the Commanders actually had a really good team. They just didn't have a quarterback. You go from Sam Howell, of course, to Jaden Daniels. Like, it kind of makes sense. And they had Cliff Kingsbury. And I'm not saying it was the best roster in the world, but the Broncos were kind of in no man's land. It seemed like they were going nowhere. They had just traded a lot for Russ, and maybe the worst trade in NFL history, and then they release him, and they're still paying Russ to this point. What is it, $32 million in dead cap? But nobody cares. Nobody's thinking about that because of how good Bo Nix is. The Broncos, a 10-win team in this division. The Chargers, the Raiders suck. They'll be a lot better this year, but the Chargers and the Chiefs, that's pretty difficult. In Denver, they're only going to improve too because of all the pieces we talked about. But the defensive side of the ball is the thing for the Broncos because if you go and you look at that Peyton Manning era, I mean, they had Von Miller, Champ Bailey. Like, they had absolute studs on the defensive side of the ball, and they just wreaked havoc, and nobody had an answer for them. This defense is pretty damn similar to that. They might not have big of names as that. I mean, those are some of the best players to ever play football. But Nick Benito, I thought, was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. What about Patrick Surtain, who actually won Defensive Player of the Year? Riley Moss, when healthy, is a stud. He's one of the best corner twos in football. Going out and getting Jahdae Barron, who's going to play in the nickel. So all of a sudden, you've got two really elite outside corners, or maybe not. Moss might not be elite necessarily. Elite is kind of a strong word, but a very good corner two and elite corner one, the best as it comes. And then Jahdae Barron, who a lot of people like. A lot of people. He's good. Came out of UT. He's going to be an absolute stud. The pass rush as well. Benito, John Franklin Myers, Zach Allen. You can rotate in like DJ Jones and Savion Jones. It's going to be a very good depth pass rush where multiple guys are going to be able to make an impact. The linebackers is going to be the thing. Of course, going out and getting Drake Greenlaw certainly helps. I also forgot to mention Talanoa Hufanga playing the strong safety position. I also really do like Brandon Jones as well and Jaquan McMillan. This is a deep defense. I mean, the backups would start for a lot of people's starters. Like, they're that good. And the offense is going up against this defense every single day in practice. Specifically, Bo Nix has to deal with this defense. And you could even flip it and be like, well, the defense has to go up against the offense. Offensive line that was number one in pass blocking, top 10 in run blocking. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's only going to help this team move forward. In terms of the schedule, the Broncos, they're going to have to win games, especially they're going to have to beat the Chargers. They're going to have to beat the Chiefs. Playing those two teams 4 times out of 17 is not exactly ideal. But at the same time, the Broncos, as long as they just take care of the games they're supposed to, they have more than enough talent to be able to beat the top teams and to put themselves in a better position. Because at the end of the day, the Broncos, they hadn't been to the playoffs in a long time since last season. It's only year 2 of Sean Payton. He's only been here a couple of years. So you got to look at it objectively and just tell yourself that it's going to be a process. I do expect the Broncos to be a lot better than they were last season. And the fact they were a playoff team and they're going to improve, it has me feeling very good, especially from what I saw in the second half of the season, specifically from a guy like a Marvin Mims Jr. They were never able to consistently get Troy Franklin in the offense. That's just because he's a run straight, vertical, go route type of receiver. Doesn't really provide much outside of that. He's just a vertical threat. But with Pat Bryant, I think that's a huge upgrade next to Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram, bringing him in. The tight end position was the worst in football last season for the Broncos. You could argue it was the Colts. You probably wouldn't be wrong. But those were the 2 worst offensive tight end offenses. They weren't able to get those guys involved. But now Ingram, with his size and speed and strength and versatility, especially down on the goal line, he is better there than just about any tight end in football. Like even Travis Kelce, and the numbers back that up. He's going to be an absolute monster, and I can't wait to see the Broncos play and just cover the team for you guys. I'm super excited. I feel great about this team. I'm not quite ready to say that they're on the level of the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Bills, but I think they're right below them, and they have the potential to be able to beat those teams because Sean Payton is a future Hall of Fame coach. He's one of the best in the game, of course, and the Broncos are lucky to have him. But now all of a sudden, they got to go out there and take care of business, and man, I wish football started like this Sunday, man. I just miss it so much. Don't take it for granted. As soon as the season ends, I'm like, oh my, like the football offseason just feels like an eternity, man.